And you have just crossed the line. End of debate. Report to the cargo bay and remain there until this is over. Is that understood?
Ooh, I'm sweating up a storm, child. I'm sweating to the oldies, bitch. And I mean you two. Ooh.
Yeah.
All right.
Honey, we're three queens sweating to the oldies on YouTube.
No, exactly. Now, who's ready to get into some Trek casting?
Bring it.
Wait, I'm not. My head isn't together. Wait, I just got to find my notes.
You need no
I got
notes?
my notes.
I thought you were hardcore Trek, bitch.
I am, but you still got to have notes.
You ain't got to have any notes.
That episode I saw last night.
Hello.
Photons Be Free, bitch. So good.
Well, the listeners and our viewers will have to wait for that because we're still in season 2.
And they're going to have to wait
a long time.
Yeah.
Yes, they are. Welcome to Fire Chakotay. I am Mike Diamond.
This is Miss Matinga.
And this is Booby.
That's right. And we are indeed in season 2. And today we're covering an infamous episode of Star Trek Voyager.
This episode of Voyager. How
the folk. Miss Booby, I love that you're nodding, but if people are listening, they don't see that.
Oh, they got to hear me say yeah.
They got to hear you say yeah. And Anthony, Matinga, Loca.
Yeah.
Put the notes away just for the beginning.
Okay.
Just for the beginning. Let's have a natural, smooth flow, girl.
Bring it.
Girl, you know that Thursday's my heavy flow day.
It sure enough is, and every day is Thursday. Mm-hmm. Who wants to kick it off?
All right. Wait, no, I'm going to let Booby do it, because Booby.
Do it.
Oh, all right. Well, the series, the episode is called Threshold. And
You know, I'm just gonna stop you right there.
okay.
Can we sound a little excited about the content?
Oh, the episode is called Threshold.
Take it from the top. Take it from the top. Take it from the top.
Okay.
Somebody take it from the top. Oh, I'll do it. All right. Listen. Hello, welcome to Fire Chakotay, the most essential Star Trek podcast in the Quadrant. I am Mike Diamond.
This is Mammy Matinga.
This is Booby.
Sure enough is. And we are, of course, still in season 2 of Star Trek Voyager. And today we're covering an infamous episode. Am I right, guys?
Absolutely.
Oh, you're so right.
Yeah.
But listen, I had an idea last night, real quick. This is slightly off to the side.
Yes.
But I think for Voyager, I should be known as, when we do our Voyager episodes of our podcast, I think I should be known as the caretaker. Miss Booby should be known as 7 of 9 inches. And you should be known as Tuvix, bitch.
But can I create something called Photons Be Fierce?
Yes, absolutely.
Well,
It sounds a wonderful holo novel.
I'll take you up on that. Well, listeners, you'll get some of that in the future. In the meantime, we're talking about episode number
Good question.
something.
This was episode number 15 of the second season, which was filmed on January 29th,
Oh,
1996.
God, she's got her notes.
That's right.
Because you know put the notes away, mama.
But some of the children want to know the ephemera
details.
and the details.
You know what? They could find Wikipedia on their own. We don't have to be Rhodes scholars, honey. They're for our opinions, not for the facts, okay?
Honey, roadkill, more likey.
More likey.
More likey.
Me likey. Roadkill,
honey.
me likey. Let's kick it off again, shall we?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Matinga, put your notes away. Booby, come to life.
I'm awake.
And I'm a chill. Hey, welcome to Fire Chakotay. This is Mike Diamond, and you are listening to the most essential Star Trek podcast in the Quadrant. Am I right, guys?
Yes.
That's correct. I am Miss Matinga, also known as the caretaker.
And I'm Booby, also known as Booby.
That's right. And we are in season 2 of Star Trek Voyager. And today we are covering a legendarily infamous episode of the show. What episode is this, guys?
Threshold.
Threshold.
That's right. Tom Paris figures out a possible way to break the warp barrier and hit warp 10, which would be considered trans warp, which has been beyond the capabilities of the Federation up till now, somehow by finding some type of new dilithium.
Some kind of dilithium crystal.
That's correct.
When did they mention that part?
Towards the beginning.
Right at the very
They did.
beginning.
They did.
And I think maybe the previous episode is where they find that dilithium. I'm not sure.
Isn't the previous one where they make an alliance with some of the Kazon?
Oh, with the Kazon. That's right. That's right.
Which I got to be honest, I didn't finish. I mean, I've seen it before, but I watched half of it and I was like, ugh, with this one.
The Kazon were a big wah-wah.
Yeah, but we'll get to the Kazon. So,
but bitch, last night I watched an episode of the 7th season called Photons Be Free, child.
You are
and
determined.
it was so
You are determined to talk about future episodes, girl. But we're in season 2, and we want the listeners and our viewers to enjoy the ride.
Yes.
Yeah.
I always want the peeps to enjoy the ride.
Yes. So the episode opens with what appears to be Paris on a shuttlecraft. Trying to go super, super fast and break this
maximum warp barrier.
Right. And what happens?
Well, really, it's a holodeck simulation because they're running tests. And the first test is a disaster and would have ended up killing Tom.
Right. B'Elanna's just like, when he lands in the holodeck, she's just you're dead.
You're dead.
B'Elanna and Harry, basically, and Tom are trying to use this dilithium crystal they found to break the transwarp barrier. So if you go warp 10, it's infinite velocity. And they're having problems making it happen without bitches dying. And then they're in the restaurant. What is that restaurant called on Voyager? Is it called like Neelix's place?
Sandrine's?
No, not the holodeck.
No, not the holodeck.
Where like Neelix actually is.
It's the mess hall.
The mess hall.
The mess hall.
It's just the mess hall.
Girl, let's not talk about the black party.
Right. And we ain't talking about Shaquita.
Oh, hey!
The mess hall.
The mess hall. That was lovely.
Thank you.
Lovely shade, girl. So they're in the mess hall, being, I might add, quite snotty with Neelix.
B'Elanna specifically.
What are we working on?
Do you have anything to eat?
Sure, there's some Caladian biscuits somewhere in the kitchen.
I guess I'll go find them myself.
All of them.
Snotty.
Well, Tom was like, I don't expect you to understand about warp drive and, or whatever what they were studying. Just really, really condescending.
Yep.
And
patronizing.
I'm not Neelix's biggest fan, but even I was like, y'all need to fucking step off.
He's trying to be nice.
Yeah. And B'Elanna's like, bitch, can we get some Caladian biscuits? Where's the coffee?
She's like,
I guess I'll have to get him.
Yeah. I guess I'll have to get him. Well, you are a female.
Bitch. And she is Puerto Rican.
And she is Puerto Rican. Oh, yo, see how they did that?
Yep.
Play her like.
But I'm Puerto Rican, so I get to say that.
You do get to say that. And I'm part Klingon, so I get to say that.
But also,
exactly.
it's Neelix's little off-the-cuff remark that actually gets Tom and Kim to the right idea.
Right. It's not that the nacelles are being sheared. It's the ship being sheared off the nacelles.
Right. Which, that's weird circular logic.
Right. So they do another test in a holodeck. And success. They have figured it out, apparently.
Right.
Yeah.
So
now, mind you, this is big shit. This is travel the entire galaxy.
Tell us, girl.
In a moment.
In a moment. The Federation has never been able. Remember that the Excelsior was the great experiment because it had transwarp drive and it did not work. And the Excelsior is something like 40 years before the events of this episode. So they have not been able to figure out transwarp. Mind you, transwarp would get them home right away. So Tom figures it out. I mean, it is an achievement for the ages.
Right. If it works.
If it works.
In reality.
Yeah.
I got to say that I once crossed the transwarp threshold, but I blame those cheap Mexican hormones.
Trust.
Mm-hmm. Up on the P's.
Like, how do I make a hormone? We'll kick her in the shin.
Kick her in the shin. So the captain is like, y'all did it. That's fantastic. Get it together.
We'll go down in the history books.
Along with, the Wright brothers and Zephram Cockring. And and all the legendary children. And
Miss Catherine's a scientist. Remember,
right?
She is a scientist, and so she's down with the discoveries and the carryings on.
But then
and the ooh la la
and the tasty ooh la learn sugar.
The tasty ooh la learn.
Yes,
girl, you firing on all cylinders today, bitch.
Thank you.
You hit the transwarp threshold.
Is you eating
me?
Me? Me. No, yeah.
Honey, just Altoids.
Oh, hello.
Girl, I thought you were eating the potpourri again.
I'm not trying to trigger anyone's misophonia.
Misophonia, exactly.
Okay. No, just some Altoids, keeping it
Hello.
fresh, darling, you know, for
Hello.
travel. I'm traveling the galaxy here.
Listen,
So-
since you threw in a little aside, I'm going to also throw in a little aside. I just want to say that once again, I'm standing Kate Mulgrew. Kate Mulgrew cuts such a heroic figure on the bridge with her mane of red hair and her straight back and her cool, clear gaze. Like at one point, she's kind of standing off to the side like this, just staring at the screen. And I was like, that's a fucking heroic
That's
bitch.
a captain.
That's a captain. I
Yeah.
just stand. I'm so in love with this go round of Voyager.
Yeah.
I love it.
Is that all of her hair?
No,
I think there's a little piece
I think there's a piece added on.
on the back.
Yeah.
Okay, so Captain Janeway, the magnificent, I have to agree, Captain Janeway.
Yeah.
She goes to Tom's quarters with her hairpiece up in there.
Right.
Tom is lounging in a blue bathrobe. Okay.
That he lets open just enough.
a little.
Yeah. Right. And stands very close to her.
Very close.
They validate their love at some point later on.
Exactly.
Well,
Oh
and
my
once
God,
again,
was that foreshadowing?
Foreshadowing.
And once again, everyone's got this gigantic apartment on the ship. But so the
Right.
captain
Hell,
comes
yeah.
in and Tom is like, can I offer you anything? And she's like, maybe a piece of that legendary pilot dick. And I was like, oh my God. Captain.
What version
Wow.
are you watching?
My goodness.
Version that I like that has berobed, pasty, sexy, pre-amphibious Tom Paris in it.
Trust. Well, you're watching the director's cut.
Oh, honey, the director, uncut.
Zack Snyder.
Exactly.
Yes.
So there they are in Tom's quarters, and Tom is trying to keep the robe intact because, you know, he's getting excited. And the captain's not dissuading this kind of action because she's like, you know what? Some point before the hour's up, I'm going to make my move, yo. But
Yeah.
first, let me slap him down. And she has some
Yes.
news from the doctor.
He checked over your biometric readings from the shuttle simulations. He says you have a slight enzymatic imbalance in your cerebellum.
And I just want to say my new drag name is Sarah Bellum. Hello.
Sarah Bell. Oh, Sarah Bell.
Hello. Hello, Sarah.
And
Sarah.
I'm the sister Antebellum.
Hey.
Ooh.
There we go. Wordplay. So, but she says, Tom, you're not fit to make this flight. Harry Kim can do it. He's capable. And Tom has a fucking tantrum, basically.
Right.
But he also knows that he can't flare up too hard at the captain.
Not
So
in that
he-
robe.
Trust. So he tries to hold it back a little bit, but he's like, this is my flight. This is my discovery. And she pushes back at him at like, this is our flight. our
Your
discovery,
flight?
Like, your flight?
Like,
What?
and he pulls back a hint.
Right.
Well,
Okay.
he's like, yeah, Harry's capable, but bitch, I got it like that.
Yeah, he's capable. That's not the point.
What is the point, Mr. Paris?
Well, it's hard to explain, but this is my flight.
Your flight.
But what he says is that, like, over the past 10 years, he's felt like crap. And this is the first time he feels that he actually has a life to risk. And that's the moment you can tell he turns Catherine to his
Correct.
side. Because she kind of gives him, like, this compassionate, like, I'm going to munch this blonde dick moment.
Well, he can get back.
Yeah.
She's like, I'll bring you to the threshold of ecstasy. So she caves into his fucking tantrum, which I was just like, okay. And they put him in the shuttle named after Zephyrin Cockring. They put him in the shuttle. He goes to warp 9.5, 9.7.
Beautiful effect, by the way, when he comes out of the shuttle bay and there's that shot of the ship coming out of the shuttle bay and you see the Voyager.
Mhm.
That special effect is beautiful. And I want to say that Voyager is the only Trek show that did not use models. It's all digital. So I always thought everything looked a little flat when they went to the ships, but that shot looked gorgeous.
When the shuttlecraft left Voyager?
Yeah, look at it
Okay.
again. It's beautiful. And Voyager just looks beautiful. Its little wings go like this. And it looks so nice.
Well, as they go along, you know, it got better and better and better.
Yeah,
They got more coins.
They got more
they
coins.
got more coins. Exactly.
So he's in the shuttle, and I'm not embarrassed to say that hearing him say 9.5, 9.7, I was into it. I was into it. So then he hits warp 10, and they
Yeah.
kind of lose him. He makes a weird sound effect, and then he's gone.
And he says in the sound effect, "Oh my God."
Yeah.
Does he?
If you listen to it.
Yep.
Oh my God.
And he crosses the warp threshold into trans warp, the first human being to do so. That can't ever be taken away from him. And
he comes back out of subspace.
yes.
Right? And they scan the ship, and what happens?
He's out cold. And so he gets his little Zephyrin Cochrane shuttle back to the ship. They transport him into the medical bay, right?
Where there's this funny scene with the doctor where
yes!
the captain goes,
yes!
"Can we wake him up?" I don't see why not.
Wake up, Lieutenant!
Can you wake him?
I don't see why not. Wake up, Lieutenant!
Because he's just Captain. He's just asleep. Well, can we wake him up? And you think that the doctors, maybe gonna
give
be
him
like
a syringe, a shot.
Hypo
spray.
He's like, "Tom, get up!" And the doctor and the captain gives the doctor such a look. She's like, "Really?"
She's like,
"Really?"
There's
I love the doctor.
It was very snarky this episode, and I was here for it.
All the comedy comes from the doctor this episode.
I really enjoyed him in this episode.
There was a bunch of comedy beats and then like some hard horror beats.
Yes. So there's Tom in sickbay, fully awake now. Thank you, doctor. Right. And he's trying to describe what he saw in the shuttle when he went to pass the warp barrier. And I think what he was trying to say was he was every place at every point in time.
Occupying every point in the universe simultaneously.
I'll have what he's having, because that sounds amazing.
Okay.
It sounds overwhelming, too.
Right.
But he was back on Earth, and he was with the Kazon and the Klingons, and he could tell that the captain was looking for him, and it was this really almost incredible...
Almost like a spiritual thing.
Exactly, exactly. But he starts to
and then it starts to fade.
Right away.
Right.
Like a dream.
Right away.
Like a dream. And so, but he seems okay. And the captain and B'Elanna are downloading all the information that he got during this
gigaquad data, whatever.
Gagaquads of information.
Gasping quads.
Yes. Apparently, I guess he sort of star mapped the whole quadrant or something. It's a lot of information.
Yeah, completely star like gets all this information on the entire Delta Quadrant. Information that can help them get home.
But off to the side, that crew member you mentioned earlier,
but looking very mousy, but at the same time looking
very
shady
and shady.
Yeah, he's like, first of all, why are they zooming in on this actor we don't know? Secondly, why he looks so stank?
And right away I was like, what's up with her?
Mm-hmm. But he's listening. He's like,
Is this the first episode where he starts where he's listening? This is it, I think.
I feel like there was another one. There's definitely one later.
Sure.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But he's listening to the drama. Meanwhile, Tom is in the mess hall, Shaquita's place, talking to B'Elanna about the mission. And they're sort of going over what comes next and how did it go.
Drinking coffee.
And drinking Neelix's coffee, which is named after Tom now.
Yeah.
Tom Paris coffee or Paris blend or something like that.
And this is the coffee.
I know what that blend tastes like, baby.
Oh, you wish you knew.
Honey, just musky with an undertaste of skink.
And a little bit of bitter. It's kind of bitter.
A little bit of bitter.
A little bland.
Yeah.
Bland.
And a little bit of honey.
He's a breakfast blend to be sure.
Yeah.
But I would add like a whisper of cinnamon to set it off.
Right.
You know how I douche. What's happening? Okay, so they're in the mess hall.
Drinking coffee.
Drinking this blend. And then
going over the info.
Right. And then suddenly Tom falls out.
Well, he says it was affecting his stomach, and she said, well, maybe you should go to the mess hall. I'm sorry.
Right. Because not only did Neelix name the fucking coffee after him, Tom's then going to diss it like, if you could stomach this shit.
Right.
And you know what?
Like, it's nasty.
But you know what?
Shady. Poor Neelix.
Poor Neelix, exactly.
And you know what I realized? Tom is shadier than I gave him credit for. Because you figure out in this episode that for sure, Tom is into Kes. And Neelix definitely has a reason to worry.
So Tom falls out. His stomach hurts from, it wasn't the coffee, it was breaking the warp barrier. and
Right.
he
He's suddenly allergic.
And they can't transport him because they can't. His signal's changing. They can't get a lock on him.
Having that makeup that looks like veins are coming out.
His veins are starting to pop out. Yes.
Right.
And I'm not getting a sense of urgency from the doctor. Like
he's being very like, oh, isn't that interesting?
Oh, and like, you know, and first of all, also, I think this is the first episode that you start to realize that B'Elanna is starting to have feelings, starting to notice, not have feelings, starting to notice Tom, and maybe even start to like him a little bit.
When he first comes off the shuttle and Janeway and B'Elanna see him in sickbay, right before they leave to download the info, B'Elanna sort of like pats him on the leg as he's lying there, which I did know, like, okay.
And also she just gives him a look, but also later as Tom's symptoms progress, there's just a shot, no words, of Kes and the pain on Kes's face. She is suffering for Tom because she cares for him too.
Right. But let's talk about Kes. Now, at this point, she's fully
Kes, baby.
She's an
Let's talk about
yes,
Kes
she
and
is.
me.
So at this point, Kes is fully
she's
acting.
About to die when she's 9 and sorry.
Or is she 90? Who can see? So Kes is now fully the doctor's assistant. But why is she dressed like an extra from Sherwood Forest? Okay. She's giving you full-on Robin Hood Keebler elf madness.
Yeah.
Yes.
And some kind of like hemp shoulder thing happening. Why?
Maybe it's Okwampan.
Yeah.
It's the Okwampan fashions.
Right.
Yeah. Plus
She's
she
still
runs.
keeping true with her roots.
How would she know?
That's right.
How would she know?
Because she lived in the dirt. Neelix, snatched her when she was a baby.
Yeah. You know what? Predator Neelix, gross energy Neelix, almost like abusive, controlling relationship Neelix.
But by now, pretty much neutered Neelix.
But kind of neutered Neelix.
Yeah.
Oh, this is a little factoid that I know that but this episode has the distinction of having won the Emmy for Outstanding Achievement in Makeup that year for this particular episode.
Okay, very good.
I can see why.
I can see why.
The makeup was fab, and the puppetry was cute.
Yeah.
And as the story progresses, speaking of makeup, Tom starts to look more and more ill and unlike himself.
I put in my notes, Tom looked faith.
Tom looked good and fake.
He looked good and good.
And it looks like he's de-evolving, but what's really happening is he's evolving into like the most ugly thing.
So his cells, what's happening with his cells?
He is
gaining organs and losing organs, and he's just mutating.
So the doctor's
mutating physically.
He's
monstrous.
His cells are changing, and he's looking gross. And at some point, the doctor's like, "You have an extra organ."
Right.
Well,
after he dies.
Right. He dies. Oh,
yeah.
Right. Oh, I forgot about that. Wait, does he die before or after they come? He dies.
Right.
He dies. Okay.
He dies lovely. It's like
Kes, kiss me. Kes, kiss me.
He's hallucinating.
He asks Kes for a kiss. Why is he asking Kes for a kiss? Because that's the last kiss that he wants because he likes her.
And she's like, I am not going to kiss this gross-looking Frankenstein motherfucker.
No, well, she can't because he's inside of a force field.
He can't breathe oxygen anymore.
And he can't breathe oxygen, so she would die. But when he passes away, she does kiss him. It's really a lovely moment from Jennifer Lean.
Yes, but while he's ranting and raving and hallucinating, he's like, oh, I'm going to die, and I want all these pretty girls come to my funeral, but not B'Elanna Torres.
Because I don't
she doesn't
trust
smile.
A person.
Right.
And I don't trust a person who doesn't cry.
Why you got to single her out? Like, that ain't right.
Because
it's just like little boys that don't like girls when they really do like them.
Exactly.
Right. Okay.
Exactly.
I was just like, ew. And then he's like saying pepperoni.
Pepperoni! God, I'd love a pepperoni pizza with Caparian olives right now. I'm starving.
at a contest.
Caladian
Olives and, House of Pendarvis. And he's just like carrying on.
Right. And he's like, La Beja.
La Beja.
La Beja.
And Cass is giving him side eye because, like, don't nobody see that house. And then he dies. He dies after giving such a soap opera moment of, when you contact Starfleet, tell my father, tell him. Oh. And then he flatlines.
But not a bad performance from Robert Duncan McNeil this
episode. A good
episode.
Performance, but I had to laugh at that. It's so cheesy. So he dies. And apparently it's not a big deal on the ship that Tom just died.
No,
because he's in a body bag. Nobody comes to see him. The doctor's sitting at his laptop taking notes. Where's
I don't believe that. I bet you everybody's gagging, particularly B'Elanna, Kess, and the doctor, and
why didn't
they?
But they didn't show any of that.
Kim.
Hello, Tom is dead, and they show none of it
because it's not a miniseries. It's just
not
an
relevant.
episode. Yeah,
I guess. And also, if the doctor's a hologram, why does he have to sit and type on a laptop? Couldn't he just go and just like send the information? But I'm getting too into it.
Or just send it. Exactly.
He is part of the computer, part of the ship.
Yeah,
he is a program.
He is a program. But he hears something creepy, yo. The body bag be rustling. Scraping, rustling, making sounds. Oh, shit. He unzips it. Oh, Lord Jesus.
He's breathing.
He's breathing.
No, but he says to Tom, you're alive.
Yeah.
Right.
You don't want to hear that when you're like, when you wake up.
In the med lab.
Yeah.
Right. And Tom's like,
dead?
And Tom's like, what's happening? And then pulls some of his hair off.
Yes.
Tom
setting the example for what Kess should do.
He's
that wig off, honey.
He's alive, but he's starting to kind of flake off.
Right.
And then the doctor says you have an extra organ.
Right.
And shows
another heart.
He's got another heart. I'm like, as long as the important organ is in place, you can have as many hearts as you want, darling.
Well, if he's got 2 hearts, does he have 2 other things?
Woo! Transwarp.
2 hearts.
So 2 hearts that beat as one. Take it.
You know what? That's what I thought.
I need you.
That's it.
2 blood farts.
Stacey Q, dead or alive? Off topic. She's alive, right?
She's alive.
10 points if you can name her other song. We connect.
Oh, yeah.
Together, it's so perfect.
Maybe the better song.
What a talent. Remember she was on Facts of Life as Cinnamon?
As Cinnamon,
singing the same song.
Yes.
She was.
Yep.
Oh, hey, listeners, viewers, just a real side tangent. Let us know if you'd be into a Facts of Life podcast. I'm on board. Nobody else is.
No.
Ubi?
Yeah.
Possibly.
All right.
Where would I find it? Hulu?
Hulu. Who knew?
Hulu.
It's out there somewhere.
I have all of them. It's out there.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's out there.
We'll think about it.
So Tom is alive. He's got extra organs. He's mutated.
He's ranting and raving.
The captain comes to see him. The doctor warns her, yo, he's tripping.
He's tripping.
And she's like, uh-huh. And she walks in and he looks horrible in sickbay. He's behind a force field because he's deranged.
And dangerous.
And how gross does he look?
He's so gross that his tongue comes out.
Yes. Now,
Yes.
here's another factoid. The makeup for that scene where he looks really horrific, do you know what they based that on? A very rare picture from the 1980s of Lucille Ball without makeup.
Oh,
and it's very interesting how they pulled it off.
Right. When she was doing the very last series that she did, I'm starting to worry about Lucy.
What's up with Lucy? What's up with this?
What's up with Lucy?
Oh. So the captain's talking to Lucille Ball there. He's behind a force field, and he's like gross and kind of aggressive.
Aggressive, but deranged.
Deranged. But also, he's like, I'm evolving. Who are you to stop me?
You're so inconsequential.
Yeah. He's
like
being
shady.
Yeah, and she's, she's like hearing it and tolerating it, but because the look in her eyes is like, I know you're not feeling well, but I'll slap you down.
I am the captain.
Right.
Yeah, to a point.
And then he's crying and pleading, and she's like, yeah, nah, doctor, I can't, nothing I can do to help.
And that's a performance right there from Robert Duncan McNeil.
Yes.
He's dying. Paris is dying, and the doctor doesn't know what to do. He's got ideas.
Well, he died already.
Right.
He's something else now.
It's something else now. He's going to die again.
He's
maybe.
Tom, but he's not Tom.
Right.
Right.
Uncle Tom.
He's Uncle Tom.
Trust.
And so they're going to try this therapy on him where they kill off some of his mutant cells to make his regular cells come back. Is that what's happening?
Using
A warp.
using something from the warp core. Yeah, warp
Right.
core energy because the Doctor does figure out that he is evolving, but because he is evolving, he is not like going to make it on the ship. So the Doctor figures out that he can de-evolve Tom using this substance from the warp core. Now, mind you, I just want to say that's a fucking hat trick from the Doctor.
She don't play.
The Doctor can't send instructions to the computer without physically doing it, but he can de-evolve a human being using warp core energy. Like I remember, I thought, like, wow, like that's quite the hat trick from the Doctor.
Yes.
The writer's room is very creative on the show.
Yeah.
It's all.
You must suspend your disbelief.
Hope before we get to it. The little crew member that was eavesdropping on the logo contacts the Kazon, a particularly burnt matchstick looking Kazon.
Right, like black and white.
Looking very much like a used Q-tip.
And what his name? Riddick?
He's an African-American Kazon.
Right.
Oh, are any of the Kazon African-American?
This one was.
Well, the actors
really look at the picture, and he had black features.
And so crew member Shady says, I'm sending you all the information they got off of the shuttlecraft.
Slim
experiment.
Shady.
Slim Shady's
Exactly.
like, here's all the info. I proved my worth to you. And Matchstick is like, we'll see. Click.
Second crew member to be a mutinist and give information to the
But
Kazon.
that plot point is not picked up again at any point in the episode.
Nope.
No.
Never see him again. You never find out why, who, or what, or when, or why, or how.
No, it will be that.
It'll be revealed later.
But not in this episode.
No.
Not in this episode. Wait a minute. I'm giving the Chinese spam caller. Leave me alone.
I thought you were talking about the cat, Cutie.
No.
Or that's what Tom says. Leave me alone.
Leave me alone. So Tom is in engineering, and B'Elanna is going to be sending bursts of warp energy to de-evolve or re-evolve, or just get her back in place. And you can see Tom's kind of like struggling, like I don't want to be able to.
And at this point, Tom doesn't look very human at all.
Yep.
Yeah, he looks almost like a Vidian,
like Admiral Akbar.
Yeah.
Or almost
without
like
the eyes,
like Anakin Skywalker right after he got burnt in Revenge of the Sith.
Right.
But
looking very that.
But very salamander-ish.
Yeah.
With the gill, the whiskers.
Yeah.
Like an
once again,
axolotl.
Great makeup.
Good makeup. And so the Doctor and Cass are kind of monitoring from sickbay, and then a scuffle breaks out as they watch on the view screen. Would I do Paris in this form?
Yeah.
The best part of waking up is Tom Paris in your cup.
Is rub sex in your cup?
You know, I'm not really on the whole amphibian tip, and I wouldn't be on his amphibian tip. What
Me
I do
neither,
is,
yeah.
You're lost in the Delta Quadrant.
I don't know.
You know what? You probably wouldn't need lube because he looked really slimy.
He looked
Slimy
moist.
to begin with.
He looked
Yeah.
moist.
Yeah.
Maybe that's how he got out of his engineering restraint. He just slithered out, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
He clearly gets out because he causes a scuffle. There's B'Elanna's like, what the fuck? And then there's a shot, which we're seeing on a view screen. And apparently he's on the loose.
Right.
Now, earlier in the episode, he had said, let me go. Let me get out of here. I need to get off the ship.
But we didn't
Right.
know why.
Right. And so Tuvok's like, security lockdown, everybody be where you need to be. And then the captain by herself, for some reason, stalking down the hallway like, where is he? What's going on?
Yeah.
And she goes to get in an elevator, but she senses something.
A heavy breathing.
A heavy breathing and sort of a
She
smell of
goes to
swamp.
reach. Yeah, she goes.
She's like, I don't remember Dagobah on the star chart. And what happens, Booby?
She reaches for her blaster and turns around to have Tom Salamander shove
Yes.
her into the turbo lift.
Knock her lovely.
Knocks her out lovely, and
She
picks
must
her
be-
up,
She must be really frail because like one could plop on the carpeted floor and she's out.
and she's out. Unless it was a really fierce knock,
Maybe he pushed her hard.
like lovely, like knocked the wind out of her.
Yeah.
Maybe. And so what happens?
He lifts her up, takes her into the shuttlecraft, and leaves Voyager.
He kidnaps her.
They give
Kidnaps
chase.
her.
Another
Salamander.
episode where somebody's kidnapped.
Yep.
A lot of kidnapping on the show. So he kidnaps the captain, and Chakotay's on the bridge, and they're trying to give chase, but because the shuttle has this new technology that they can go to warp 10, eventually they
He
lose
gets away.
him. So they're on the shuttle. He kidnaps her. They're on the shuttle, and she's looking like she's tripping on mushrooms because they're going through the warp 10 threshold
Effect.
effect.
Tom
But-
gives her 10, and she
Tom-
gags.
And she gags.
And
But
she
some-
gags, darling.
But the ship is able to track them somehow.
It takes 3
Right.
days.
Oh, it took
takes
3 days?
Yeah.
That's right.
Okay.
It takes
In
3 days.
3 days, a lot has happened in Tom and Catherine's little
Yes.
lives.
So they end up on a jungle planet or a jungle
Dagobah
area.
system.
The
on
Dagobah
a,
system.
on a very Dagobah planet, except in the Delta Quadrant, it's Dagobah.
Dagobah.
Yeah.
And so Voyager finds them, or their signal on this planet, this jungle planet. Next thing we know, we're in sort of a murky swamp, a pool, a bog, I guess
A
you'd
bog.
say.
A bog. We see these two large salamanders lying on the bank, and Tuvok and
Chakotay.
Chakotay beam down with someone else. I remember seeing somebody else, and realize that this is the captain and Tom. They
Yeah.
see the human DNAs, and they scan them, and they
Right.
see there's human DNA. And Chakotay wonders who's Catherine and who's Tom, and Tuvok is she's the female, of course.
Well, they're very jokey
Say-
about it too, because it's like your captain is a gecko. Why are you
Yeah.
making
Right.
jokes?
Why ain't you gasping?
Yeah.
Thou.
Chakotay's like, I don't know how I'm gonna write this up, and Tuvok's like, I can't wait to
I want
read
to
it.
see that. Read that.
They're so sure that the doctor can reverse it. And it's like, are we all that sure? Because this has gone quite a ways.
So
Right.
just to make it clear, Tom and the captain have become amphibians.
Yeah.
They are
And
full-on amphibians
parents,
and amphibian parents.
They have offspring.
because they have 3 offspring who
Yes.
pop out of a little hole.
And they
Yeah,
and
popped
mean
out of
Janeway's.
Catherine's little hole.
Hey, girl.
Yeah.
And they the 3 offspring of what's apparently Tom and the captain slither off into the water,
Right.
but they bring amphibian captain and amphibian Tom back to Voyager.
But leave the babies behind, because couldn't have the doctor have de-evolved the babies too?
Well,
He
but
could
they were
de-evolve the captain.
but they were never humans, those babies.
No, but they came from 2
Human DNA.
human beings. Human DNA.
Well, they'd have to go catch him.
Right.
Right, and maybe it wasn't about not being able to de-evolve them. Maybe it was more about like, oh, child, like let's just like
We don't
walk
need 3
away from
babies
this.
up on the board.
Like when a girl has a baby at prom night in the toilet and
Right.
just like leaves it in the garbage and like, I'm going back to the prom, thank you.
Mama, you're spilling all your personal tea.
Oh God, it was a hard night.
It was a hard night, but the music was over.
Honey, we had Junior gag.
So they were on this planet for 3 days. They were on the planet for 3 days, and in 3 days they had sex and gave birth to like little toddler amphibians. That's how
Yeah.
fast this happened.
Right.
Yeah.
And so they bring puppet, slimy, shiny puppet, reptile,
Good looking
Tom.
puppets. Like
Yeah.
good looking puppets.
well, just sort of like sluggy, and they bring
Yeah.
them back to Voyager after stopping off at Petco for some fruit flies to feed them.
Yes.
Next thing we know, they're in sick bay. There's the doctor and Janeway.
Human
She's-
again.
Human
Human
again.
again.
What
And that's what
happened?
he says that to her too. You're human again.
And she's kind of
Yeah,
like,
okay.
thank you,
She
doctor. but
dismisses him. I've got to talk to
I
somebody.
got to talk to my piece. And she's in a blue, sort of a blue
Nighty.
sick bay
Nighty
nighty.
caftan. They both are wearing the same nighty caftan.
Although
Right.
his has pants.
Right.
Right.
I don't know if hers does. And she's got like sort of a casual like ponytail thing happening.
Again, that piece.
And just very blasé. Oh, we were amphibians and now we're human again.
And we
And-
had
And
children.
we had cheer-ins.
And we had children.
Yeah.
And the conversation is awkward on Tom's part,
but
Yes.
not on hers.
but not
No,
on
she's
hers.
like, I've always wanted to have children
yes.
But I never wanted to have them with you.
with you.
I've always wanted
I never
to,
thought about having them with you.
I've always wanted to abandon children.
But I never thought I'd abandon them with you. And he's like, bitch, I have coffee named after me.
Trust.
But he's kind of like stammering and embarrassed and like, I don't remember. And she's like, how do you know it wasn't me that made the move?
And you know it was.
Right, because in some species, the female starts the whole mating ritual.
Right. At no
Yeah.
point do they say like, yo, what the fuck? We were amphibians and now we're humans again. This is crazy.
And where's our children?
Where's our children?
And do they remember the experience?
Well, she clearly remembers.
Really?
So
Well, because
I
she
don't
said,
know.
she
It's
says,
nebulous.
she says, I'm going to give you a commendation because I've never had vitamin D like that. Yeah.
Oh, Lord.
So they have 3 amphibian babies left on this planet.
To die.
They're human again. And they continue their voyage in the Delta Quadrant.
On their happy way.
And that just goes on. Yeah.
What do we make of this episode?
I loved it.
I loved it.
I love this episode.
Yeah.
But a lot of people hate it.
Really?
Yeah.
I think it's up there with Tuvix.
Which we'll get to.
Right, but also a lot of people
I
hate
forgot.
that episode too.
Wow.
Why do you think people hate this? Is it because of there's so many ridiculous science plot
I
holes?
think the salamander sex thing throws
Yeah.
some people off. They're like, you know.
And it's never mentioned again, right?
It's just, even for Star Trek, it's so far-fetched. It stretches the limitations
And
of
it's puppets. Do
Yeah.
they ever mention it again that they have kids?
I don't
Like,
know.
is she ever like, Tom, remember that time I shitted out frogs? I doubt it. So,
listen, it was
hold
like,
up.
who hasn't said that sentence?
so Janeway and Paris had sex, okay? And at some point, doesn't Janeway hit it with Chakotay?
No, they
I
never
don't-
hit it.
But
But-
they have have a romantic moment.
Well, like a
But-
getaway where they're on
Yeah.
a planet.
But
I
it's,
don't know what season
it's
that is.
very chaste.
But
it's quite chaste.
Janeway's the only one getting some action in the Delta Quadrant at this
She's the
point.
captain.
I doubt it. There are people screwing on that ship. What the thing is, Kate Mulgrew always said that she didn't think that it was appropriate. This is the actress Kate Mulgrew saying this.
Right.
That it was appropriate for the captain to hook up, and she really resisted it when the writers would throw it at her. And the first 4 years, they kept on trying to suggest a relationship between her and Chakotay, and she was like, no, 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 no. Eventually, they get to the ridiculous storyline of Chakotay and Seven of Nine out of
That's
nowhere,
way down.
there. But honey, trust me, people are hooking up on that ship.
Yeah.
Right.
They're hooking up, but not the captain.
Right.
She might want to, she might have feelings, but she's not going to.
She's like,
I'll just go to the holodeck.
I'll go to the
Yeah.
holodeck and
For some holodeck.
computer, start program 3L. Paris is a gecko.
Yes.
I mean,
Right.
she seemed kind of not smug about the experience, but sort of playful about it.
Yeah, totally.
Like, yeah, we spawned, and I'm still your superior officer.
And
Yeah.
maybe they did spawn. Maybe she laid eggs and then he fertilized it.
Maybe
and
they
so
were
there was
more
never
than-
intercourse.
And what's going to happen with those little amphibian
Maybe.
babies? Will they live?
They have a fighting chance.
They've
Will they
got a
breed?
Chance.
No, they probably won't breed.
No, because they're all the same. They're all the same litter.
Mm.
So
Mm.
yeah,
But it's never
you know,
discussed again.
It's
No.
never discussed again. But what I think the real arc of this episode is Paris sort of coming to an understanding that he sells himself short, that he is an officer of worth, and he's growing as a person too, and that he has to cut himself some slack. I think that's really what the arc is about. And also he passes the warp barrier and really, you know, gets his commendation. And I think it's
Sets a record.
Sets a record, and I think it's a beautiful episode for Tom. And Tom becomes a loved and goes from a criminal to a respected member of the crew, like
A
B'Elanna and
respected
Chakotay.
amphibian. It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. At some point, they give him his own UV lamp because, you know, he has to soak up heat and stuff.
He's just on a
so-
rock in his quarters.
And so, and they never use the technology again
No.
because clearly,
Oh, no, that's not true, because I think, and somebody correct me if I'm wrong, doesn't Pathfinder eventually have warp drive?
Oh,
Transwarp drive.
Transwarp drive.
I don't know.
I think it does.
But at this point in the journey, we're like, yo, we can't risk the fucking entire crew turning into the Slytherin. We can't have it.
Sleeve stack.
The sleeve stacks. We got to keep it tight and tasty. And so they don't use the technology. They abandon their babies on this planet and they go along their merry way. And that is Threshold from season 2 of Voyager.
Yeah.
How many Chakotays?
Oh, this is such a tough one. I'm going to give it 3.5 Chakotays just because of its legendary status and because it's so bonkers. And because, Paris be, getting it on, and that's what I'm all about.
Right.
I've noticed, honey.
Bitch got to do what a bitch got to do. A bitch got to do what a bitch got to do.
Trust me, that bitch wouldn't do you.
Oh, please.
Honey.
Let me let you know.
Honey.
The original draft of that speech was, at my funeral, I want a bunch of pretty girls and Diamond.
And a Jew.
Honey, Paris wouldn't do you. More like Cambodia. Maybe.
Matinga, how many Chakotays?
I thought it was a goof.
Mm-hmm.
And I really enjoyed it. I'm going to give it 4 Leola root.
Oh, hey.
So will I.
Yeah.
Oh, hey. So I think at this point, this is our highest scored
Rated.
episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so at this point, Threshold is the winner of the Fire Chakotay popularity contest.
So far.
Viewers, if you are listeners and viewers, if you are enjoying this content, please feel free to support the content on Patreon and Venmo. We are Workshop, WERQSHOP Workshop. And
yes, we would absolutely love that. And I'm sorry.
Rate and review us.
Oh, and yes, rate and review us. 5-star reviews and rate us. Especially when you rate us, it does something to the metrics where we're higher up and can be seen by more people. So if you like the podcast, please give us a high rating, no less than 5. If you don't like the podcast, give us a 5 anyway. So please rate and review us. This is Miss Matinga, the caretaker.
This is Mike Diamond, Transwarp Conduit.
And this is Booby.
Bye.
Booby.
Oh, sorry, Booby. I stepped all over your line.
You conduit.